Cult TV. This is where culture connects. I'm your host, Cult Classiq, and this is the kickoff episode to this season of Cult TV. This episode is a little bit different from what you'll see in the season. Typically, I'm chatting with different people, getting to know about them, understanding how they got to where they are, and their takes on their industries. But today, instead of the host, I'm going to be the guest. I felt like that was important for me. As a host and as a creative, you get very good at seeing other people and seeing things and seeing what's not there, but it's really hard to see yourself. I'm with Bakari, and we actually had conversations about having creative awareness and strengthening that muscle, and he's somebody that I think is good at being creatively aware. He's a good friend of mine, and I really admire his creative process. So before I switch to the guest role, I'd like Bakari just to share a little bit about who he is.
Well, thank you, dog. Candace, Cult Classiq. I don't know how, like, when you got a friend with a brand, it's like, how do you?
All of the above.
All of the above. But it's a pleasure to have this conversation with you. We've kind of started on our pathways into the creative entrepreneurship at the same time, and we both made strides, and we've talked about how hard it is to kind of get your audience to understand who you are and connect. And so I think this is a wonderful conversation that we're going to have, and a great idea to get your audience to learn about you. So thank you for having me, and I'm proud to join the movement. So dope. So let's get right into it, because I don't want to say you're back, but there's obviously more to come. And I think everyone is in a space right now where it's like looking at the world and what can be done and what can be new. And you've had some ideas on that, and you started to make moves on that. So what's been going on? How you been? How's the Rona quarantine treating you?
Quarantine. I'm adapting. It's been a lesson. Quarantine's been a lesson of adaptation. It'll be a little bit later when you guys see this live and published, but we're in the middle of a global pandemic, and right now adaptation is the name of the game. I spent the first half of this crisis, it kicked off in March, and I spent it searching for constancy and normalization, and that's just not here right now. Like, you're just not gonna get that, and you're in your own way if you're looking for that. So during the second half of this crisis, I am leaning into the uncertainty through experimentation. And part of that is this season of Cult TV. So about 2 years ago, Cult TV had its first season. It was a continuous run, and the conversations, I knew what I wanted when I went into the project. Like, I knew the end. Yep. I had the end in mind. Like, I knew the final product that I wanted to see. This time around, I am still talking to people that I admire, people whose work that I'm a fan of. But right now, it's kind of a lesson in play. And play is the work of kids, but play is actually the work of kids and creatives. We grow as creatives when we do play.
No, that's a big bar.
Yeah. Well, thank Mr. Rogers. He's the one. Fred Rogers, coined that term that play is the work of children, or the work of childhood is play. It's how you grow. It's how you learn. So as a creative, when you play, that's how you strengthen yourself, and that's how you create work that matters, and create work that not only matters to you but matters to other people. So this season of Cult TV is me playing. Like, I don't have a theme. I don't have, I know what I want to talk about with individuals, but if it goes into that direction, I'm open to that. I have ideas about what I want to do, but I'm not married to them. So if those ideas and how I roll this out, if I feel like that's not what I need right now, and that's not what anybody else needs, then they just won't happen. I'm playing Cult. This is the play season of Cult TV.
I like that. It's like you're trying to be, fluid in the creativity, but authentic to yourself, and just trying to find those conversations and how to relate to folks, which is what I've always admired about your work. So you're doing the right thing.
Thank
so For those of us who don't know, for the audience that may be checking in for the first time, Cult Classic season 2, give us a rundown of Cult Classic, who you are, what do you do, and your output. The 90-minute workday, your Medium articles and stuff like that. Like, who are you?
Yeah. So I'm called Classic. I'm Candace. Candace is my real name, and I'm basically like the homie. Like I'm the homegirl. I'm a regular.
I'm the homie, right?
I'm the homie. Like I'm a regular person. Try to be a good person. I'm interested in people. I'm always curious, and so that's what really motivated some of the work that I do. So shifting to the work aspects, I coordinate productivity events for millennials. They're called 90-minute work dates. I host writing workshops for people in search of themselves. And I create content for people who don't know how to sell themselves or don't know what they want to sell. And I do social media likewise in a similar vein for people who hate social media. Like if it's not your jam, then, like I can create a whole strategy for you and implement that.
That is that's really cool, and I definitely see how organizations kind of need that.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get into that work? Like, what influenced you to go on that pathway? Was it like a singular moment or a trigger of like, I saw this and then I moved and I wanted to take that, or was it kind of like a constant feed of your experiences that led to that?
Well, my work that I do in social media and content strategy, that really just came from just being a kid of the internet. Like I've had an internet persona like since I was 13 and, making Black Planet profiles. So I was always watching.
To go way back.
I did.
It's so funny. The
I
trifling internet days have like really made us made some millionaires out here.
Right. Like you had to, like if you were putting in your 10,000 hours as a kid. And so my 10,000 hours, like, I hate to say this, but it's true. Like while other kids were out like riding bikes and I don't know, like, I guess my mom would say like, why don't you like shoot jacks? Like, Mom, nobody does that. But like while other kids were out doing those things, like I was in the house, like on Black Planet, like trying to understand internet culture and having social capital on the internet and how that shifts a dialogue. And I was just always fascinated by it. So once you learn the language, you can speak it. And so I learned the language of social media. And so I began to speak it. And then I began to, once you create, now social media is everything. So now everything's bigger than social media. So that led me to become a content strategist. So figuring out, is it a film that you need? Is it an event that you need? If you just say it is an event, then like, what is the teaser or the rollout for that event going to look like? That's how I got there.
That's like really dope because like it's something that I always say about how like the thing you touched on this, like the things that you do as a child feeds what we are as creatives and what we like, what our output would be. So whatever we were into, whether it was playing with toys and like, making up movie trailers with your toys, and you now become like a movie director, or you now like little X in that situation. So it's really cool to hear that like for children of the digital media age, how much like oh, you just sitting in front of that TV, or what is this, and how much it was undefined back then to it now just totally leads the conversation now.
Right.
And there were no majors for this. There were no classes that you could go to. It was really just the interest of those people.
Right.
So all right, that's really dope. So tell me about 90-minute workday. Because you talk about productivity for millennials, and how did you get on the productivity tip? How did that become important to you?
Yeah, so coming up in social media, and then like we just said, like that's the work of the play is the work of childhood. So playing on social media and then graduating to this space now where I can work in social media, I get to work remote. I get to be in my environment, and I had a lot of distractions. So I had to figure out how could I be productive when my TV's right behind me, or my bedroom's a few steps away, or there's like so many better things to do right now outside of my workspace. So I did a lot of research, and I found this concept called Pomodoro rounds and ultradian rhythm. And it's the idea of basically working with your body's natural attention and focus rhythms throughout the day and those natural periods to get work done. And so basically the research, there's scientifically backed research, you guys can Google this, but basically the research says that you work in 90 to 180 minute cycles. So 90 minutes of focus and alertness, and then you're going to need a 15 to 25-minute break. And that whole like work and rest or focus and break period is one cycle. And so I would do this, and then I'm a social person. Like I'm an ambivert, but I lean towards being more extroverted. And so I would just invite people out. I would invite people out just to come and like, hey, do you want to have a work date? Like you and I have had work dates.
Yeah, I
at the crib, and yeah. So I did that, and then what actually kind of changed the game was when I invited the now co-founder of 90 Minute Work Dates. I invited her out for a work date, like casually. We met up in the library, and then we did this like every Saturday morning for about a year. And then we decided, like, you and I have the same vision because we have this friendship. And I didn't know her at the time. Her name's Fiona Crystal. I didn't know her at the time. So we built a friendship off getting together every Saturday morning and working for these 90-minute cycles. So we decided, like we had the same vision, and we're also friends. And we're she works in the PR space and I work in content and social media.
You're complementary of each other, right?
Right, yeah. Like our skills just match, our visions align. And so we decided, like, let's make this a thing. And so now it's a thriving community.
That's really cool. And I remember when we first started doing our 90-minute work days when we first met, and I still use your method. So like I have to literally get through my day now in my entrepreneur life. I try and do at least 3 90-minute sprints a day. That's my day. It's like, yo, if I gotta get up at 9 or 9, I gotta be locked in by 9 or 9:30, and then it's like, okay, hour and a half break, hour and a half break, hour and a half break, and then by the fourth one, it's like, yo, I don't have any more in me. But when you set those goals and like I can now break out like okay, these are the tasks that I have to get done this time. This is what I can build into these last 2. It really helps with productivity. Right. And we started working on this when we were both like, kind of still working for the man, if you will. And now that we're like on our own and we're like, figuring out, it's like, it's so crucial how important it is to have a routine like this. And I just think of how like you build that, like every entrepreneur should actually have this practice of a 90-minute work day. And then I think where you come in and make it even doper is that you add the accountability tip to someone else. And I think for entrepreneurs and those that want to get things done, like that accountability to someone outside of yourself is important to keep us going, because accountability to our own self could leave us just sitting on the couch, but accountability to your community and to your people, and just like a friend that said like, yo, I'm going to do it, and they want to see you get it done, like that's actually really powerful. And I think on a community level, that means a lot. So tell me a little about like how 90-minute workday has like grown into this community, because it's going from you and I to you and Fiona to you pulled up at my office at Eaton Workshop and had the whole joint shut down. So like, how has the community that you built like fed you, and like what do you think is the future of that community?
Yeah, so it just grew. I think what I like about it, what makes it easy for me, going back to play, like it feels like what I would naturally do. Like I would naturally reach out to my friends and invite them out on a Saturday morning to do work. And I would naturally want to know, how did it go for you? And can one of the homies help? Can somebody help this person? Like putting our pieces of the puzzle together. So I think that's what feeds me. Like that's what keeps me invested. In terms of like, where is it going? We've gotten a great positive response from like everybody who has come out. We just celebrated our 6 months. We a virtual happy hour, and it was just a great experience. To this point, we've reached over 100 people, in the 6 months that we've been doing these publicly and like promoting them heavily. We stepped up our Instagram presence.
Yep.
We've we've got inquiries about bringing this to other cities. Obviously, due to the pandemic, we haven't been able to go there, but just the idea that we just gotten a lot of like reinforcement for this concept. Like, this is something that people find valuable, and now people are ready to partner and invest in it. And we're just super excited about that.
And how long would you say that this has been going on? Is this year 1, year 2?
So for me, as someone just using the concept and inviting people just anywhere, like I don't care if it's at the crib, as long as you have strong Wi-Fi. Like I've been doing that since about 2017.
Yeah.
And as a front facing thing, like branded is 6 months old. So it started in the end of 2019. So October 2019. Unbranded, it's probably about a year before that. So 2018, I was just on Instagram stories because I feel
inviting people out.
Yeah, like, do you want to work? And honestly, like, I'm gonna be completely honest, on a personal level, I also measure friendships and relationships about how we interact. Like if I feel like, can we work together? Like if that's not your jam, cool. Like I do have friends that are like, I don't bring work home. Like I like work is at work. Like this is
right.
I don't, and I get that. So I don't judge those people, but like I do like say like, okay, like I can work with this person, literally like sitting next to you silently for 90 minutes, getting it in, and then what happens after that.
It's so important to like identify those relationships, and there are different folks that like move differently, because I used to be a person that didn't want to bring shit home either, or like don't talk to me about work and don't talk to me about it before like 7 o'clock on Monday morning. Like but it is important to find those that you can work with and bounce those ideas off of, and like just finding a community of people that want to achieve or want to be productive in that manner. It's hard to find, and you've built a very, we talk about this all the time, there's a lot of different communities out there, but there's nothing really better than when you find like your Black community.
Right.
Especially here in DC, and you fostered a community for those 100 or so people that couldn't be found before. Right. And it was invaluable to them to have those spaces to bounce those ideas off of. To meet other 30 something Black entrepreneurs in the city, male and female, I think is just amazingly powerful on the networking tip, just to know that we out there. Because it may not be something that we work on, but it could be that it's just another invite to a barbecue with a space of people that we could connect with, and that it's that mindset amongst those people is always dope.
Right.
So next topic a little bit, because things like our work and things that we create are rooted in what we think is important to us. I feel that your writing is authentic and truthful on your Medium page. I feel that 90-minute workday is communal and productive. And in understanding like philosophies and kind of what guides us and our outlooks on life and how that shapes what we are, what philosophies do you think that you have, or what outlook on life do you think feeds the work that you've now put out into the world? Like what shaped that? That's a toughie, right?
Right. Yeah. I would say a few things, probably 3 things. So I think community and being interested. So the community piece being 90-minute workdays, and the interest and curiosity in others, I think that comes from like being the odd man out. So like in my younger years, like, like grade school and middle school, being outcast or being kind of unnatural, and then wanting to understand like what are those inner workings like. Also, I think one thing that I always think to myself, even when I have a problem, like a personal problem, Like I always think like, okay, like as soon as I figure this out, because I know somebody else has this problem.
Yeah.
As soon as I get the answer, I'm gonna tell somebody. Like I'm gonna put this
Mm.
in a blog, or I'm gonna tweet like all the steps I took, or like, and I just do this with everything. Like it might be as simple as like making a COVID-19 mask, or something as deep as like,
Uh,
bouncing back after being laid off, which I have experienced. So I just always tried to figure out like, as soon as I get it, like y'all got it too. And that's what I guess that fits into Cult TV and 90-minute workdays, like the idea of
yeah.
like as soon as I know the answer, like you guys have it also. The other piece is like if someone does something well, like I don't mind being a fan, and I take genuine
Mm.
interest. Like it's not even like, oh, they have this many followers or they'll get me into this space, which is a strategy that you can use, but it doesn't always translate to the best types of conversations,
Yeah.
quality conversations. Um, so yeah, just looking at people's like work and admiring the process, or even appreciating the evolution, and then like wanting to know like, how'd you go from A to B? Like I know you were on an A to Z
Yeah.
track, like I see it, but like I just saw you glow up from like last year to this year, and your brain is in a whole other space. Like talk to me about
Hmm.
that. So
Like, what was that specific, like, thing, those specific things that happened there to get people from those spots? I
right.
love what you said about like being of assistance to people, because, like, I believe that, like, as long as you're helping people and as long as you got positive vibes, everything else that you want will come back to you.
Hmm.
And I think that's a prime example of what you've done, where you said, well, when I get my answer, I need to get my answer to my community, so my community can be in strengthened. And it's interesting because once you're that information thought leader for your community, now they keep coming back to you and they keep bringing the opportunities back to you because they know how you can handle that
Yeah.
information, that pilfering of that information, how you can get information to people that need help, which is powerful.
Hmm.
And then I think that it's also important that you say that it's okay to be a fan of people, because we talk about the digital age and we see influencers and we scroll through Instagram, and it's so easy to be a fan of someone, but it's also so easy to like be a hater. And like it's the realest thing though, like, because digital media kind of really plays off of our emotions and what we feel about ourselves.
Hmm.
And to say that it's okay to admire something in this space, and it's okay to aspire to be a part of that, I think is important for a lot of people to see, because a lot of the tricky part about digital media, and this also translates to brands and how they connect, is that, like, they play off of our emotional need to be something, but also the insecurity that plays into that as well.
Right.
And your work kind of takes away from being a fan, takes away from the insecurity of the fact that I like this and I want to be a part of it. And
Yeah.
you having that representation of that being okay makes it, we have a little bit less of the spread of the social media mental illness, if you will.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Like you said, like social media can be like, it can be our prison or it could be our
Yeah.
liberation. It depends on how we use it. And so I just want to create content that, resonates with people and is useful. Like any conversation I have, like I always think about like, okay, if somebody were to listen to this, what can they
Hmm.
walk away with this? Like what can they take away from this? And I feel like it's fine to have conversations that simply entertain, like that is a function, and I respect that. And at times like
Yeah.
I do that as well, but then I think if I'm going to have like these specific conversations in Cult TV, like I do want them to be like, wow, like I listened to that conversation and now I can build my own brand, or now I can step
Yeah.
into this industry or apply this to my real life.
What are the processes in, like, that you have in, like, building those conversations or finding those people, or um just like identifying what that is? Like, is it a motive, is it just a feeling, or like how do you get into it? And I'll give you an example, because for me, like, I like to have conversation, and I like to learn from people through conversation, but I also have learned that to have a good conversation, I kind of have to have process surrounding it. So even like setting up for this call, we were like, you asked me, you did the right thing, asking me how I best wanted to do this. I think that's an important thing to ask creatives and entrepreneurs, like how is the best way to do this?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I like to have a conversation. I like to sit down. I sent you my notes, and the reason I sent you like a picture of it is because I actually have to write here kind of the conversation that I want to have, and then like put that out. So like, do you have like similar processes or alignments that like help bring that out for you, that you have your natural talent, but maybe you could develop a process that like help to make you better?
Yeah, so I have a similar process with basically like chatting with people beforehand, or really if they are like, if they have a lot of public facing content about them,
Yeah.
and we're like, they might not have a lot of time. I kind of use that to size them up. But what I really do, like anybody I've been talking to, I've been looking at them for a while. Like,
Hmm.
and it's not, it's creepy. It is creepy. And
Yeah.
like, everyone does it, but I live on social media. Okay, like I have, it's a messed up quote, but I always tell my friends like, yo, when I die, bury me on Twitter, because it's
Right, straight up though.
it's funny. What I really look at is how people respond to cultural shifts and moments. So it varies
Hmm.
my platform, but like if I'm on Twitter, like I'm looking at not who's the loudest, but like what are you saying? And then I might
Right.
follow you and just look at like the thought process there. Like how do you think about things? Like what is your
Yeah.
approach to things? I think that's interesting, just for me personally, on like not cult TV aside, but I think
Yeah.
that also shapes like what I'm able to talk about during cult TV. I also, if it's Instagram, I look at, so, and I'm thinking through this because there's two
Uh,
things that happen. So one is sometimes if there's a post, I'll just hit a random name from the likes, just because
yeah.
not on my page, but like an interesting post, because I just
Yeah.
want to know like
Who
who,
that
like,
person is?
yeah, like how did you
Who the
like,
fuck that is?
what brought you to this post? Yes, like I just want to know. And then the other piece that I do is I always look at who's behind something. So for
Hmm.
example, lately I've been fascinated by B Simone, not even lately, but like for a minute. And
Yeah.
like her content is evolving, but I really admire her hustle. Like I just think she's like a really
Yep.
cool person, but she's very like business oriented, and her like management team is like led by Miss Skittles, who's like in the industry. So I've like
Yeah.
follow her now, and now I'm looking at like, well, who is looking at Miss Skittles and what do they do,
Right. And
and
who are
what,
they?
yeah, and it's just curiosity. Like it's not, it sounds very it sounds created and like
Hmm.
kind of contrived, but it's just curiosity. Like to me it feels random and organic.
Right.
But
To me, it sounds like you're kind of fascinated by the cell, or like what makes people move into doing things.
yeah.
Um, and I like that because it's very much like what I'm into. Because I even with like working with brands, like you have to look at those likes to be like, yo, what is the profile of this person, and what does this person do, down to the granularity of how does what they watch on TV or what they consume or where they work, how does that influence what they
Yeah.
click and what they purchase? One of my favorite things to do is like to go on different posts, or I'll take this. Anytime that I find a piece of information that I found valuable online or a digital platform, I like to deconstruct how I found it.
mm, yeah, because then you get user traffic and user behavior,
Right.
and you can better map it when you put out your other stuff.
Exactly. So I
Oh,
was like,
okay.
oh, well, like what appealed to me about this post? Oh, what it said link in bio. And then I clicked the bio. Oh, then it was easy for me to download. And then the big thing is like when I actually share that shit, like when I actually like get to an article from Instagram because it's so hard.
Yeah.
And then I actually push it out to someone. I was like, wow, that was really effective. So now what are the tools that this company had that got me to do that? And
Mhm.
that's the real work of the content strategist, that experience of getting the
Right.
customer to actually move, but also kind of understanding the nuances of their life and their experience that brought them to that.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my next question. I hope you love
Well,
these segues.
before we shift, one other thing
Yeah.
that I wanted to add that I'm big on is empathy. And I guess that goes back
Yes.
to like being the odd man out, but practicing empathy. And a lot of people think that like empathy is just like kindness. And it is like
Yeah.
half of empathy is kindness, but the other half of it is like perspective taking. And that helps you with like writing. So like if you can imagine somebody else's perspective, like you can write more creatively and you can write more complex content. And
Right.
also in marketing, like if I can be empathetic and understand like what the average user that is liking this content or not liking this content, and I want them to, then I can understand like how to talk to them or how to be, in support of what they're going through. So yeah, it's basic human empathy.
Basic human empathy. That's actually even a better segue into my next question. Because like we talk about, we watch content probably now more than ever. And we've been interested in the alignment specifically of the social commentary of the world, the representation of the faith of the people that are involved in that issue that we're seeing commentary on. But then there's the aspect of customer acquisition, actually getting someone to partake in your brand in different ways. And I think we've seen it progress from it just being that, hey, you can sell this, this is the benefit of this to you, and you're gonna look nice and everything, to what does this company actually do for their people that makes me want to even wear their brand or even participate in what there is. So it's gone from just having good coffee to this coffee has to be you know locally
Trade,
sourced
yeah.
and made in a way that it's not hurting people.
Mhm.
So what are your thoughts on how those concepts align, and specifically with empathy, how does empathy feed making those messages for brands authentic and making people move that way? What are your thoughts on that?
Mm. I think empathy, I think it helps you, it just makes you more savvy. It helps you to be more
Yeah.
organic. I don't think that brands should be anything other than what they are. Like when you see a brand evolve, 9 times out of 10, they already had those values. It just was
Yeah.
undersold, or they weren't leaning into them, or it wasn't even like the timing wasn't right for them to really, focus on that. So I think
Yeah.
empathy allows you to say what you mean and to say it honestly and to be good at saying it because you're being authentic
Mhm.
and you're not selling to people. You're meeting them where they are.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's really about meeting people where they are, because that is the ultimate way to get people to move. Just like I think of it, really, I've come to this concept through podcasting and how just that authentic voice in your head, and like the idea that I want to hear any news, but I just want to hear a black voice say the news to
Yeah.
me, or I want to hear someone that at least sounds a little bit like me say the news, and how just someone can then say, well, I'm trying to reach more people in this audience, so I have to go specifically to those that represent this audience if I
Mhm.
really want to do this effectively. And it just seemed like for so long, as a kid, not paying attention to it, I would watch every kid eat cereal, and or like Mikey eat the Life cereal. I saw a Life commercial the other day. And it's like, oh, well, Mikey can be black, Mikey can be Asian, Mikey can be white. But now it's like looking at that, it's like, oh wow, they got Black Mikey now. And it's like I
Right.
didn't think about that when I was a kid. But now I'm like, oh, maybe I'll pick up some Life cereal. I ain't had Life cereal in like 10 years. And it's like, damn, how they give you, like that's how they and it's just interesting how much of that is a part of our buying decisions. And I often just think about how that will lead to the social change that we're looking for too, because this
Mhm.
is all tied to just the world that we want to live in. So very big things, very, very big ideas. Um, so let's wrap this thing up. What can we be excited for from you and Cult TV in the next couple weeks? How are we kicking things off?
So Cult TV is launching in May. When you guys are
Okay.
watching this, this will be launched. You can expect conversations with people from interesting backgrounds. They have interesting professions. I have an urban outdoorsman, and he's gonna,
Mm,
I went into the conversation expecting that we would talk about tactical things and, like I'm
yeah.
combat boots and I don't know, like we used to hunt.
Into the world, Walking Dead shit, right?
Right. But what we actually ended up, like a lot of the things that kept coming up were just like the emotional relationship that we have to nature. Like I was not
Hmm.
anticipating that at all. And so that's a really fun conversation that I'm excited for. I also chat with the owner of Club Assets. It is a new strip club
Ah,
in Washington, D.C., and it's owned by a woman. And honestly, like, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to tell like in the episode, but like I'm actually surprised that she's a woman and she's young and she's
has
black.
a has a strip club.
Yeah, like we weren't able to do a pre-call, but a lot of the correspondence was digital, texting and
Yeah,
email or whatever. So I didn't know what to expect. I just knew like this would be a good conversation to have.
yeah, yeah,
And so yeah, so just little like random conversations like that, random conversations that take their own turn and they take their own form.
yeah. It's like interesting people doing interesting things that is related to an interesting time.
Yeah, 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 with like surprising outcomes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the time is something. It's like nothing. I think I'm not going to give you your brand, but it's like I think that's really cool because it's like in this time where we don't know what can come of anything, here are the uncommon things that are leading to uncommon results that could possibly be our new
Right.
normal. So that's really dope. I'm really excited to check out those episodes. Both uh brother with the combat boots and Shorty with the strip club. I'm definitely want to check that out. And I wonder, is she doing virtual live?
She does have her OnlyFans. Yeah, support the Club Assets OnlyFans. Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to have another episode. We can have a whole another episode about the OnlyFans and the subscription model and how that. I would love to join that panel.
Oh, what? Yes, yeah. So I'm already working on season 2. So this was play. Season 1 is play, and then season
Hmm.
2 I think it's gonna be play, but with a tweak. Like I'm gonna use some different tools to play. And part
Okay.
of that is just having um conversations with people that I feel like are knowledgeable on cultural phenomena. So that's like a teaser there.
Okay.
I'm thinking about Freaknik. I'm thinking about what you just said, like the subscription model and like the evolution of the gig economy as we see it now, especially in an
Yeah.
economic crisis.
For
So
sure. For sure.
yeah, lots of great things coming up.
I'm super excited. That's awesome. Well, let's to wrap this up, I think that you've given the audience a lot to think about, and now they have a real good feel for you and what the content that you put out and what your output is. But, what could the audience like tap into to or a piece of content, one of your recommendations that, they can get little bit of what's inspiring you right now. What are you checking out? What's inspiring you? What do you recommend
Oh
people check
man,
out?
what am I checking out right now? So my current obsession, I'll give you 3. My current
Okay.
obsession is the Spice Suite. It is a
Yes.
spice shop located in Washington D.C. And the Instagram presence, they do ship, so please follow them on Instagram at the Spice Suite. Um, and what I like about it and what I admire about it is that, the owner, Angel Anderson, is Black woman owned. And she could easily
Mm-hmm.
just say, like, this is just going to be my retail space. And I am just going to sell my product and that's what y'all get. And that would be perfectly fine. But it also doubles as an incubator for women entrepreneurs. So,
So
there's my good homie, Christina, owner of Charismatic Creations, which is a cocktail I hate talking about people's businesses because I hate getting it wrong. I don't want to do
yeah.
that. but she sells custom cocktails and the ingredients, and she can give you custom cocktail experiences as well. But she's actually one of the businesses that works out of there. And there are a couple of other people like Vintage by Sam that they're able to work in the shop, and she has like calls with them, like monthly calls where they bring in somebody that helps them elevate their businesses. So it's just like, I guess
it's like
if
a women's business community.
It's a women's business community. And it's like if 90-minute workdays had to be a retail space, like in terms of like having community and giving people, like working with each other to share the answer, it's kind of like that. Like, and I'm just loving it. And I've been following her for years. So I've like seen it grow.
Seen it grow. She's one of those ones that like you've seen them come up. All right, so
yeah. Alex Wolf, she is a techno anthropologist. Basically, she's an anthropologist that focuses on technology, and she's worked with a lot of companies. And currently, what I'm loving about her is that everyone wants to respond to the moment, because we're all home and there's a lot of moments to respond to, and everyone wants to respond to the moment on social media. Everyone has an opinion. But what I think that people struggle with is being authentic to their own opinion. Like, what are you adding to this conversation? So it's fine to, have the casual opinion, like, oh, that was dumb, or that was bad, or that was amazing. But like, yes, it's amazing, but tell me why you think it's amazing. And I think that she does that. She responds to cultural moments with additional information.
Give you that context.
Yeah, context is key. She just recently did an Instagram post about Teddy Riley's failed technology during the Versus Instagram battle. And she, she did a great job of connecting that to what we understand about technology and the way that it's shaping us and what that means, what are the generational implications of technology. And I thought that was dope. And yes, loving her content. And I'm also taking it a step back. So right now, I just finished the audiobook version of Survivor. It's a book by Chuck Palahniuk. He is the author of Fight Club. So so the book that I'm reading, Survivor, I think it actually came out in 1998. But it was an interesting read now because it's satire, and it focuses on work. Like the idea, like what is work, who gets to work, and what does work mean? And why is it interesting to me right now is because we're not working. Like a lot of people aren't working. A lot of people are home and they're getting unemployment. And when you are not working, I find, at least in American culture, there's like an identity disruption.
It's so, your identity is so tied to your work. Right.
It's like, who am I, and what do I do, and what does work mean? Like, should work be something that we define our whole identity around? And then what happens when that's disrupted? Like, then who are we? So yeah, I'm loving that book. There's a lot of crazy twists and turns. It's really offbeat. I wish I could get about a plot right now, but we don't even have the time for that.
Right. No spoilers. No spoilers. Right.
But it's just a great read for right now.
That's I will have to check out all three of those things. You actually just put me on. So I'm definitely interested in that book though. So yeah, I was Survivor. I'm gonna check that out. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. And I feel like I've learned a little bit more about you, even though I kind of know a lot about you at the same time. So this is great. So, let's wrap things up. Where can we find you? When can we expect the next? What can they check out now? Give us the drops.
Yeah. So, okay, you can find me on Medium, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm trying to think, it feels like there's more platforms. I don't know, but like you can find me everywhere.
Search the name, you'll find me.
At Cult Classiq, at CultClassiq. In terms of like ways that you can connect with me or what you can see from me, the next 90-minute workday is on May 16th. It's virtual, so you can join us from anywhere. In terms of content, starting in May, the blog and Cult TV are going to be, it's going to be a rollout. So check for that in May. It'll be May by the time y'all see this, but check for me every week.
Right.
And then in terms of the writing workshops, you can reach out to me anytime if that's something that you and your team want to set up. You want to do this writing workshop. Happy to host. Happy to do that. Happy to customize it as well.
Dope. All right.
And yes, wait, hold on. I'm going to switch back into my host hat. Bakari, where can people connect with you?
Yes. So I am notoriously the spook who sat by the door, the guy that I'm out there, I'm everywhere but nowhere at the same time. But you can find me on most platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at OGBaka_. And you can follow my company, Candor Labs, at Candor Labs. That's CAANDORLABS. 2 A's because we couldn't trademark 1 A.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But we're a digital production company and content strategy organization. So we work with mission-driven organizations to make empathetic content that relates to their audiences. So much of what we talked about today is what we specialize in at Candor Labs. So Candace is a part of that ecosystem of people that we work with. And so if anyone out there needs any of our help, feel free to reach out to us. But with that being said, this has been, I'll close it out. This has been the Candace Carrington Cult Classiq episode of Cult TV. And we're excited to, kick off some more conversations. So with that, peace.
All right.